Hi, Doug Greenwald here with the Convergint Technologies Advanced Solution Team. And as companies continue to develop their return to work strategy, I want to provide an update regarding FLIR and their thermal cameras for elevated skin temperature. Joining me again today is Matt Strotman from FLIR, and coming off our discussion a few months ago, educating viewers around the use of thermal cameras and the considerations for this use case, we wanted to take a few moments to bring you back up to speed on the latest developments. Before we address the topic at hand, I did want to share that you should keep a watch on the Convergint newsroom and LinkedIn pages for additional videos upcoming, including an introduction to touchless access control and what companies need to know when migrating their biometrics. Matt, thank you again for joining me today. So recently, FLIR announced the release of a specific camera line for elevated skin temperature, as well as their new screen EST software. We'd love to get an update for you on the latest cameras and what makes these different from the previous models we discussed.
Thanks, Doug. So we did just recently announce that we're coming out with a line of EST specific cameras. On my screen that I'm showing right now is a list of all the new EST cameras. Really, the big difference between our first, what we were selling and still selling right now to these are we're actually stripping out a lot of the functionality that's not needed for use cases that are not EST. So for the premium handhelds, the traditional use case for those were for preventative and predictive maintenance. So with these cameras, we took out some of those functionalities and really focused on the EST functionality. We've also updated the firmware within the camera to allow for auto sampling. So we no longer have to manually take our samples. As long as someone's in the proper spot and it identifies the face, that it's going to automatically take the samples at the camera. So it's a much more effective, efficient tools for the EST. And as you can see, we have the handhelds and then also the automation cameras. Also with the automation cameras, you'll see that we jumped from the A400 series to the A500 EST series. So with that, we're actually increasing our resolution. And as we talked about before, with pixels on target being critical for measuring temperature, it's going to prove to be a little bit more accurate since we have more pixels on target with the higher resolution.
Excellent. Yeah, and I also see that some of the pricing has changed as well with the reduction of some of those features. Now the price point seems to be in a more attractive place comparatively to some of the other products being repurposed.
Absolutely. So prices have gone down. EST functionality has increased. So what you're just not getting in some of these cameras are some of the features that people weren't necessarily looking to use them for in the first place.
Excellent. So one other thing is you also have the new screen EST software. Can you talk a little bit more about not only what that does, but what is the interface like for the users?
So absolutely. So the screen EST software is actually going to be a client-driven software. So I'm going to play this video and talk over it right here. And this is, on top of the camera, you would buy our this client software as well. And what you're getting out of this is a much more friendly user interface and customer or user experience. As you see, people just walk up. Once they're in the right spot, it'll go red or green. The nice thing about this is it's customizable per location. So those green areas, and I'll play it again real quick because it goes pretty fast. It's only a minute long. Those green areas on positive can say, thank you, have a nice day, or whatever you would like to make it at your site. If it would go red, you can then on the screen say, please go to room 102 for further screening, or wait 5 minutes and please rescreen. So it is customizable for location in that sense. And it's very easy. As you can see, each person takes about 2 to 5 seconds to get their temperature read.
That's excellent. The other thing I notice is you're not showing temperatures now. So as a result of that, I assume that was done on purpose, probably for privacy concerns?
It is. A lot of people were concerned about that. There's a lot of, regulations. So so we don't show temperature. You can customize what you want on the screen. It can be thermal, visible, both. You can flip-flop. All of that can be adjusted. Now at the client where you set everything up, so this would be the user interface that we showed, that the person that needs to get their temperature read, it will see. At the actual client, it will show the temperature. You can see the actual readings. You will have an events page down here that is tracking alarms. You can actually point the alarms to some folder on your network where they go save. You can have it save a snapshot of the individual or not, but it'll definitely record that there was an alarm and what the temperature at the alarm was.
Excellent. So I assume in the case where somebody fails to pass this screening, that you could get a snapshot of that individual and be able to record that data in the event that you had to perform some level of contact tracing.
You could, and you, like I said, as long as the camera or the client has access to the network, you could just have it mapped to a certain folder where it just saves and collects alarms.
Perfect. And so as far as deployment on site then, what kind of setup can the customer expect? And what's that on-site experience going to be? So it looks like we've got one that's either the onboard software driving an outcome, or if you leverage the Screen AST software on a laptop, that's going to also produce a little bit different outcome as well.
Yeah, so if you're just using the camera, so let's focus on maybe the network-facing cameras, the A500 EST and the A700 EST, which is the this camera right here. If you're just using that, all you really need is the tripod and then some way to display either the GUI, or it does have an ONVIF driver and you can pull it into VMSs and show some display page from the VMS. Now, not all VMSs write the same integrations to ONVIF, so it may differ from VMS to VMS, but you could always just use the GUI within the GUI within the camera. So that would be the standalone, just using the camera. If you're using the Screen EST software, you would need the camera and then some type of computer to run the client. A lot of people that I'm talking to are looking at some type of little mini PC that can be mounted behind a computer, behind a monitor. So at that point, you just need something to power the camera, a PoE injector, a small little PoE switch, and then everything would just be mounted right behind the camera, or the monitor, not the camera.
Excellent. So pretty clean, simple setup once on site with the equipment.
Yep.
That's great. So time to value is there still with regards to deploying FLIR. Now, one thing I know that's probably going to be a question asked by others is, it is kind of a new line of cameras, but it sounds like existing cameras that had feature functions stripped from them to really focus in on this use case. How does this, or does it even impact anything regarding your FDA approvals and your ability to carry your 510K clearance?
So the camera itself, I'm going to jump back to the first page here. The camera itself, if you're using the automated firmware within the camera, it does not change the FDA 510K registration as it's highlighted right here. We didn't change anything physical about the camera or the process. All we did was just made the sample taking that's still done at the camera, we just made it automated. If you use the Screen EST, we did refile for our FDA for that software, because in that software, because we're using we're actually changing where the data is collected. We're collecting the data at the computer. So, and we can actually customize how large. So if you want a larger sample size there, you could go to however many you want, 1,000 plus. But because we changed the location of where the data was being collected, we had to refile for that. But the camera itself, if used independently, still maintains the same. Just had to refile for the Screen EST.
Perfect. No, appreciate the explanation on that. And I understand you guys are taking orders now. If somebody were to place an order now, when are you guys anticipating to begin shipping, and what kind of lead times are you expecting, given how hot thermal cameras are still seemingly being tasked in the marketplace with?
So we're taking orders now, as you said, and we're planning on shipping sometime at the end of September. And then right now, what I'm being told is about a 4 to 6 week lead time. Now, as that gets closer to the end of September, we'll have much more accurate information on lead times. We're still a bit out right now, but that's what we're looking at as we sit here today.
Perfect. Well, Matt, thank you so much for the update. Really appreciate you joining me here again today. And for our viewers, hopefully this was helpful. And if you're still considering which thermal cameras to deploy, obviously FLIR has taken some time here to revisit their product line and come to market with, in my opinion, a pretty easy to understand line of software, as well as FDA approved line of cameras that have a long-standing history of success in the space. And so with the new user interface as well, it provides a level of customization I know our customers have been asking for. Click the link below to get in touch with myself or someone on our team that can specifically walk through our requirements. And of course, until next time, stay safe, wear a mask, and thank you for doing your part to help companies bring people back to work safely and responsibly.